Okay, so on this question, they're asking us, they're giving us a function, f of x equals x squared plus 7x. And they're giving us another function, g of x is equal to x minus 6. And then they're writing this weird looking thing, f, little circle, g. What that means is plugging one function into the other. That's what that means, putting one into the other. And you plug them in the order in which they're written. So notice how they're reversing it. They got f first with the circle thing in g, and then on part B, they reverse it, right? G first, circle thing f, and then here f twice, g twice. So what that means, let me say it in a way that'll stick with you and connect to something you already know. First off, are you clear when they give us a function like this one right here, f of x equals x squared plus 7x? I think you are. If they give us like f of whatever, 3, right? When I put a little 3 in that parenthesis, what that means is you plug that 3 in right there and right there in the x slot, doesn't it? Right, you with me? So here, let me go over here on the side. If I write f of x equals x squared plus 7x, what is the purpose of the x here and here? Well, you know, it's like the holes in a toaster. It's the insert slot. It means plug it in here. In other words, if it was up to me, it wasn't up to me. But if it was up to me, I would have written functions like this. And maybe seeing it that way will help you get the meaning. That's all that x means. The x is what we call a dummy variable. It's not a smart variable. It's just holding a spot. That's all it is. The x is just holding a spot. It's just a blank. It's just an insert slot. So when they go f of x is x squared plus 7x, what they're really saying is f of blank, like whatever you plug in, that blank is going to slide right like this. It's going to go right here and right there. So whatever you plug in. So say you plug in a 3 or whatever, that 3 is going to slide down right here and right there. That makes sense? And then you just work out the right side. 3 squared plus 7 times 3, whatever that is, 9 plus 21, 30. So that means you plug a 3 into the toaster, so to speak, and out comes a 30, right? Like put in bread, out comes toast. Put in frozen waffles, out comes toast waffles. That's all a function is, like a toaster. Put stuff in, get stuff out, right? So is that making sense? And the x's in a function are just the placeholders. They're just the slots where the bread slides down to. That's all that is. Nothing more fancy than that. Okay, great. Got it. Well, then what does it mean when we put like 2 of these together at the same time? Same thing exactly. Now notice we always take the 3 or the whatever number and plug it into f. It's right to left, isn't it? You see that? Right? I mean, you might say, well, no, one over here. Yeah. I mean, I get you, but I want to make sure you're clear. 3 is going into the f machine. That's what when somebody writes f of 3, that doesn't mean f times 3. I know we're often used to parentheses meaning times, but that's not always the case. And it's not the case with functions. When it comes to functions, it means plug into the toaster. It doesn't mean multiply, right? There's no such thing as, f is just a function. What would that even mean? So that means the 3 is plugged into the f machine. What is the f machine? It's this machine, x squared plus 7x, plug it in. All right. So why am I going on and on about all that? Well, because I want to help you remember, this is part of what people forget, which way it goes. G is going into F, not vice versa. Now, in the next one, F will go into G, but it's always right to left. And that doesn't need to be a surprise. That's what it's been all along, right? What we do right here, 3 goes into F. That's how functions have always worked. So I want to say it in a way that'll help you remember it long-term when you get to the exam or all the way to the final or all the way to next semester. You're taking a class that uses this. So does that make sense? Functions always plug in right to left. So, okay, so what's my point? G is going into F. So instead of like 3, like over here, I plugged 3 into F. Instead of plugging 3 into F, I'm plugging all of G into F, the whole G function. What do you mean the whole G function? Meaning all of this will go in right there and there. So it'll become x minus 6 squared plus 7 times x minus 6. And then we got to work that out. This good so far? This making sense? Instead of plugging, see over here, I plugged 3 into the f function. Well, on part A, they're telling me plug all of G into the f function. That's what that little weird circle thing means there. It means of. It's like the O in the word of. It's meaning you're plugging one into the other. So I'm plugging G into F. It's always right to left. That's how functions have always worked. That's not new. G into F. So I just plugged all of G. In fact, it might help if I change the color here. This x minus 6, x minus 6. See how we're plugging in G into F. Now we got to work it out. What do I mean work it out? I mean work it out. Write two of them, right? That's what a 2 power means, 2 of them. And what is this guy going to do? Here, I'll just rewrite it for a moment. And then you know what to do here, right? Now we're going to FOIL this thing. We're going to go first to both, second to both. What do we get? X squared minus 6x minus 6x plus 36. And what do we get back here? This is going to distribute plus 7x minus 42. I'm just multiplying it all out. Now gather like terms. X squared, that's in a category by himself. Minus 6x plus 7x. Work all that out, it's minus 5x. I just combine those three. You can just take your calculator. Minus 6 plus 7. All the x terms combined together, combine like terms. And then 36, take away 42, that's minus 6. And there's our answer. So that's the answer for part A. I'm gonna have to come down here to do part B. Down here, part B is say now do the golf. G of f of x. What does that mean? Again, functions have always been and will always be right to left. Plug in right to left. So I'm going to grab the f and plug it into G. So now I'm plugging f into G. How does that work? Come on up here and grab all of f and plug it into G's insert slot, which is what the X is. It's the holes in the toaster, plug-in slot. Okay, so that's going to be, and by the way, whenever you plug into anything in math, plug in with parentheses around your plug-in, right? Always put parentheses around what you're plugging in. So plug in x squared plus 7x, which is f, into the G function. Everybody see what I just did there? Right? I just plugged all of f right here into G, into this spot right here. The G function has an insert slot and then a minus 6 coming afterwards, doesn't it? Right? Isn't that what G says? Insert slot minus 6. So I inserted all of f minus 6, right? This is all of f right here. All of f. Take away 6. All right. So what becomes of that? Well, really nothing. I mean, there's nothing to do here. It's just that, right? Just x squared plus 7x minus 6. Nothing else really going on. There's nothing to multiply out and gather like terms or anything. So that's the answer to part B. Let's keep going. Coming on down now to part C. F of x. Now, what does that mean? Well, I think you know. It means f into f. Plug f into itself. Well, that's kind of weird. It is. It's a little weird. This is all a little weird, but that's especially a little weird. Plug f into itself. So that means I'm going to, so what is f? Let's be clear on what is function f. Do it over here on the side. F of x, the function f of x, is x squared plus 7x. Okay, so that means when they ask me to do f of f, I'm going to do something squared plus 7 times something. And what is that something? X squared plus 7x, x squared plus 7x. You see what I did there? I plugged all of f into itself. Everybody making sense of that? Like, let me write it up here real quick. Again, this is f of x, right? So I plugged all of this into itself. Maybe it'd be better if I went up here. Yeah, let's quit, right? I'll just quit doing it right there. Right up here where f is. See what I did? I took this whole function. This is what I'm plugging into. This is f of x. And I'm plugging that whole thing in right there and right there. Does that make sense? I'm plugging that entire function, x squared plus 7x, into each of the x slots, right? The x slots are the input slots in the function. Okay, let's keep going. And then what do? You got to work it out, which means I've got to write two of these. X squared plus 7x times x squared plus 7x. Keep this other part over here. Write two of those, okay? And then the first one goes to both. What's going to happen there? That's going to be x to the fourth plus 7x cubed. And then the second one goes to both. Plus 7x cubed plus 49x squared. And then boom, boom at the back. 7x squared plus 49x. Right? I'm multiplying all of them. Remember when you multiply, out front numbers multiply, powers add. Out front numbers multiply, powers add, right? So like 7x times x squared, the invisible x1 and x2 add to be x3. Okay, now let's gather like terms. So what do we got? X to the fourth is in a class by himself, and then 7x cubed and 7x cubed is 14x cubed. So now we're adding, we just have the numbers in the front, we don't mess with powers. Right? And 49x squared and 7x squared, what's that? 56x squared. And then lastly, 49x. See how I just underline them or circle them or cross them off? You know, I just underline them as I use them, just to make sure I didn't miss anything when I gather all my like terms. That making sense? Finally, one last part, part D, which is g of x. And so what are we going to do for g of x? Here, let me put a box around this final answer. There's that one. There's that one. Here's the answer to part A. All right, so now finally part D, g of x. So here's the function g of x. It's x minus 6. So that means I'm plugging x minus 6 into itself. So that means I plug the whole x minus 6 into the x slot, the input slot of the function. So x minus 6 will be x minus 6 minus 6. So I put the whole the g function is x minus 6, right? So I plugged the whole x minus 6 right where the x was, in the x minus 6. All right, then what becomes of that? Well, pretty much it's just x minus 6 minus 6, which is x minus 12. And there we go. There's g of g. So in all these situations, that weird little circle thing in the middle means plug the right function into the left. That's what function notation always means. Plug right function into left. So we do that in every case. And there we go.